So in the example of two people and a molecule, right? So if it's Michelle and I, and I'm out there, I'm trying to raise money, and she's trying to deal with all of this stuff. So she's running the CMC, she's got the farm talks, regulatory affairs, clinical. Maybe we have one other person to help us with clinical. But we're trying to manage all those people and manage all those relationships with the CROs and our consultants. And the contracts and paying people, and I'm out running around the country trying to raise money. Something is going to fall through the cracks. And that's why you really do need project management. Either a project manager or a program leader, or sometimes both. But it will help make things run smoothly, and you can focus on the things that you really need to focus on, which is raising money. Some differences between a project leader and a project manager. The leader is going to focus on the overall strategic vision. The project manager is going to focus on those day-to-day tasks and make sure that everything is being done appropriately. So strategic versus tactical. The project leader is going to be over the entire project. The project manager might be more centralized. Okay, we need to find a CMO, or we need to find a clinical CRO. They're going to focus on those very specific areas. You know, your education's a little bit different, obviously, because of the broader scope and the strategic role of the project leader. They're going to cost a little bit more than the project manager, but you will find immense value in having one or the other or both.
I can get to an IND in $1 million or $1.5 million in 6 months, which is completely absurd if you're talking about a new chemical entity, if you're talking about a new molecular entity, as any kind of new entity. I kind of built out a oversimplified IND budgeting metric here to help us understand. Remember that we work on, I want to say, between Lisa, myself, Sarah, probably up to 9 INDs a year, you know, kind of things, working through those budgets. A lot. And multiply that times 10 years. It's just a lot of data coming through. The average amount of money to do the whole IND is about $3 million, okay? Doesn't matter whether you're small, large, or anything else. There's some, of course, exceptions to that rule. But as a whole, I always tell my people $3 million. But here are the things that could affect that $3 million. If you have to use monkeys as your tox species, bring that up about 250. If you have to deal with a sterile product instead of an oral product, take that up another little bit, because sterile manufacturing is more expensive than oral manufacturing. Is your API commercially available and you don't need resist technologies? Then you can cut that back quite a bit, because that's a big portion of your budget. If you have an inhalation program, inhalation tox, inhalation formulation development is very expensive. So very expensive. If you have the actual technical competence, then you can take the sweat equity and you can reduce the cost of that. If you don't take Lisa's advice and you try to do it all on your own because you're not on as much of a timeline, if you're on a timeline, you really need project management. If you're not as much on the timeline and you're just going to do sweat equity, then take your time and you might save some money in the long run. If you're doing an acute, you can save some money. If you're doing oncology, you can save money because you don't need all of the tox program. You can actually get a buy on some gene tox and safety farms. If you're doing a therapeutic biologic or a peptide, well, not a peptide, but just a therapeutic biologic like fermentation, whether it's mammalian or bacterial, expect your CMC costs to go up. It's just more expensive to do that in the short run. In the long run, it may not be more expensive. Peptides are kind of a wash because the CMC is actually more expensive, but you save money on DMPK and some other activities that you don't actually have to do because they are essentially, we understand their metabolism. So peptides, I think, are generally a flat type of product. If your API route is 13 steps, so here's the thing. There's no standard cost for API. You can have a 2-step API, you can have a 13-step API. So they're very variable. They can really affect that final number. And so I always say, don't estimate, get a quote from Regis and call Wayne. Because that's your first step, is just to generally understand, what am I working with here? Is this really a pain in the neck, or is this something that's sort of more doable, and where are we? If you're doing a 505(b)(2) submission, which is like a repurposed, you can skip the tox program and save lots of money. Of course you can. And then cell therapy is actually you know, you'd think that they'd be more expensive. They're not. I mean, the CMC is a little bit more work because you do have to show the control, but you have a pretty limited safety package that you need to do for that. This was just the point of this was to show that you're not going to get away with a shorter timeline, because if you're going to do a standard package for a small molecule or a biologic, you're going to need to do 28 days worth of toxicology. And to run a 28-day tox study, you need 6 months. Full stop. Okay? It takes a month to set it up, 2 months to run the study, and 3 to 4 months to actually get the data off the study. So that study alone is 6+ months. So if you're trying to do this whole package, you definitely need more time.